Before starting with anything, GE, famously called as General Electric, was known for its electrical equipment manufacturing, a world-leading, famous company. Every company do a mistake, and there GE was not left with it. GE was into electrical equipment manufacturing, and its core business was like manufacturing transformers. In the manufacturing transformers, it used a chemical that is called as PCB, which is used as a coolant. So prior to 1977, Clinton's administration gave GE a license to dump these waste into the Hudson River. So once the transformers were manufactured, these PCBs were excreted into the Hudson River. Although GE knew very well that continuous consumption of these PCB mixed waters will create problem in human as well in the environment, GE was happily excreting out this waste. What happened in future? 1977, government changed. As government changed, politics played the major game here. Clinton went and Bush came into the rule. Immediately as Bush came into the rule, he cancelled the license that was given to GE to excrete out this waste. So GE was not only asked to stop from excreting this waste, but also they were asked to clean up the waste that was happened in that was happened in the Hudson River. GE was quite shocked with this, because every company should be shocked, because we are given license, we are given license to do something. At the end of the day, the government changes, and the new government comes and asks us to clean the mess. So it was very embarrassing for GE. So what did GE do? GE was continuously filing case against the government as well against certain institutions, asking them, telling them that it was not ready to clean up the mess. Might be GE forgot the corporate social responsibility at that particular point of time. Everyone makes a mistake. So EPA is nothing but Environmental Protection Agency, which filed a case against GE. EPA is it keeps the environment clean, and it wants the environment to clean, because it wants the environment for the human beings to live happily. So EPA filed a case against GE. GE again filed plenty of cases against EPA and was fighting, no, we are not ready to do this, we're not okay with it. But EPA finally won the case, and in September 2002, a judgment was issued where Hudson River was brought into Superfund site. Superfund site is nothing but, Superfund is they normally create, or they normally list out certain places which is contaminated or polluted or need to be changed. For example, British Petroleum's pipe was broken, and that was also under Superfund. So these are some examples. So coming back to the case here, GE was forced to clear out 1.3 million pounds of PCB, which was in a 40-mile stretch of Hudson River. GE was continuously fighting with this. So further we go, we see plenty of questions answering what has really happened in the case. The first thing would be the social and the ethical issue in the Hudson River, discussed by Sundar.
Hi friends, the social issues that's seen in the case is excretion of PUB in the Hudson River. Next, the ethical issue is providing license to GE to dump wastages in the river. Although GE knows very well about the hazardous effect of PCB in the Hudson River, they started dumping into the Hudson River. Next, the minor issues are closing down the recreational activities, property value decline, and also tourism rate was reduced. After clearing the first phase, the PCB level was quite increased. The major issues are health effects like thyroid and immune system, which was affected by the human beings. And finally, GE delay in cleanup of Hudson River. This became a major problem for human beings and aquatic animals. From here, Mrs. Sumya will continue.
Hi. Next question is, who are the stakeholders and what are the stakes as per the external power agency? Stakeholders, generally, according to Bernard, who gets affected or affects a business are meant to be stakeholders. This diagram shows who are the stakeholders. List of stakeholders. Stakeholders can be categorized into primary, secondary, as well as social and non-social. Primary social stakeholders are those who have a direct interest of the company, like General Electric, former GE employees, GE stakeholders, Clean Water Advocacy Group, and residency of upstate area. Secondary social stakeholders are those who have a public or a specific interest of the states, like Clinton administration, Bush administration, EPA, United States District Court, and John Elwin. Non-social stakeholders are those who does not have a direct help, but they will help indirectly. Upper Hudson River, future generation, non-human resources like non-human species like fish, birds, etc. Secondly, non-social stakeholders are like Sierra Club, Green, Seas, FAR and NRDC. What are the stakes? Stakes are dependent on an interest, right and ownership. And interests are like residents of the upstate area, future generation, right, Sierra Club, Green, Seas and FAR and John is an investigative reporter. Ownership, General Electric, G stakeholders, former G employees. Stakeholder topology are dependent on these three attributes: power, legitimacy and urgency. Definitive stakeholders are more important because they are higher priorities of power, legitimacy and urgency.
To give a better picture about the image, these people have power, legitimacy as well as urgency. Normally, who are definitive stakeholders? Definitive stakeholders are none but the investors. These people take financial decisions. These people are investors. These people take care of accounts, everything. So these people are normally given importance while a decision is made. While these people are also given importance, they rank them with this topology. Hope we have studied in the last module. Next slide.
Next one is legitimacy. Legitimacy is acted by decisions or act like employee, GE executives and stakeholders. Power. The power is only taken by a Sierra Club, Green, which is make a GE to clean up the Hudson River. Urgency, they make urgency to GE company to clean up the Hudson River. Next, Monica.
Hi all, I'm going to discuss the hazardous effects of PCBs in the environment. So what are PCBs? PCBs are nothing but polyfluorinated biphenyls, and the continuous consumption of PCBs by human beings causes a lot of health problems, mainly being it affects the digestive system, the immune system and also causes malfunctioning of the liver. And also because of the harmful effects of PCBs, EPA banned them. So how do PCBs get into human beings? They basically get through contaminated food, especially the dietary food source is majorly fish, and it also affects the pregnant women basically because when they are born, the birth weight of children is really low. So it also causes cancer, and there are a lot of immune problems in humans, and because of this recent research shows that out of 30 newborn children, 9 children were born dead because of the contaminated effects of PCBs in their mothers. So I would say that harmful effects of PCBs are very high, and so they have to be removed from the river. Over to Karthika.
I am going to discuss about EPA Superfund. The EPA Superfund is Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act. It's 1980. It's called as CERLA. It's established a superfund to clean up the Hudson River. The polluted Hudson River is undertaken by September 2002 by Superfund. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency finalized to plan to PCB's contamination to clean up. Yes, this is considered to be a fair environmental legislation because if the river is started to clean up, a healthy environmental and the future generation would be created. There is 9,000 new jobs will be available. The property values and tourism would be increased. The Hudson River PCBs must clean because of the humans' chemicals and PCBs must clean. The GE's last profit is, the last year profit is $14.2 billion. So now the time to clean the GE's investment because the PCBs to clean the river and healthy future for all Americans.
So, the recent facts about GE in Hudson River. You would have seen about certain things, certain cases before me, certain slides, where it was not a short note about the slides. GE was forced to clean the Hudson River, and it was like about 1.3 billion pounds of PCB waste to be cleared out in the phase 1, totally, and it was shattered into two, phase 1 and phase 2. September 2002, Hudson was into the Superfund list. These things were outdated, old things that happened. What had happened next? After the completion of PCB, GE was quite shocked. Why? after spending about $561 billion in cleaning up the Hudson River, GE failed to clear out 10% of PCB waste in the river. EPA again started to take this case out. EPA wanted Hudson River to be completely clean and clear. But GE tried new technologies like dredging process were brought into picture in removing the waste. Plenty of employees were also appointed, but still 10% was still there. And the world didn't talk about the 90% that GE cleaned. The world was talking only about the 10% that GE did not clean. So GE was like put back because after spending $561 billion, come on guys, some big amount, still it failed. So what did GE do? In the phase 2, before starting the phase 2, GE started to have meetings with some scientists, researchers, environmentalists. About what? GE started to discuss about the Hudson River. What would be the exact impurity that is there in the river? How can we remove it? What will be the exact price for removing it? And how many people will be required to clean this? And what is the year duration to clean this? So GE started to work on this research. According to the magazine and according to the website of GE, 2010 November, we got this data actually. Hudson River, GE was forced to remove 95% of the sediments from the Hudson River. This is in phase 2. Already it is cleaned about 90% in phase 1, 95% in the phase 2. So cost would be around $1.2 billion. So phase 1, I remember telling you that it was like $561 billion, but in phase 2 it was about $1.2 billion. Some $500 billion was again high. But as a company, GE's annual report tells us that the turnover was about $14.2 billion. So out of it, it is going to give about $1.2 billion to the environment. There were like mixed emotions, mixed thoughts about this because $1.2 billion was quite high. But GE, keeping corporate social responsibility in mind and taking care of the people, went ahead and deposited $1.2 billion, was ready to deposit $1.2 billion in cleaning up the river. And the time frame that would be given is like 5 to 7 years. In the year November 2010, phase 2 has started successfully and it is on its way. And hopefully 2016 or in early 2017, we could expect Hudson River back to form as it was earlier in 1930s. Conclusion. So as discussed earlier, GE did not take this issue seriously in the early stage, but later it took it. So as a team, we appreciate GE because I would like to give you an example here. British Petroleum pipe actually eroded and there was like leakage of petrol in the Atlantic Ocean. And Superfund, EPA, as these guys already have time to pinpoint out this mistake. And these guys took this issue and they were asking British Petroleum to clear up the mess. But British Petroleum did not do it. Even today it was not done by British Petroleum but only by the US government itself. So in this case, it's a bad example. British Petroleum did not have that corporate social responsibility. Organizations manufacture things, sell it to the consumer, sell it to human. So they should have something in their mind. They should do something to the human. But British Petroleum failed. GE initially it did not accept to this. It initially did not go ahead with its corporate social responsibility or corporate governance. Might be that period it should have been quite shocked. But later, as the time went, GE knew the responsibility and knew what is going to happen in future. And it's just $1.2 billion out of the annual income that they're going to spend. And for lifetime, the company is going to be in the best books of everyone. So GE is into phase 2 as told earlier. And we are sure that Hudson River will be back to the form as it was in 1930s very soon. We could expect by 2017. Thank you.
You said that GE should be appreciated for its efforts the second time. But what we feel that proactivity is very important when it comes to stakeholder management. So the first attempt itself, don't you think so they should have thought about how community is going to respond, even if it has received a license? We feel that maybe that would have been a better thing.
Obviously, yes. GE should be should have been productive here. But if you get a license to do a mistake, who will not do it? As a human, if you give a license to smoke in the college, I will do it. As a human, we will do it. So as an organization, if it needs to clean out the waste, it will spend about some $1 million for this particular thing. So might be in early 1930s, technology was not up to the mark, and nothing was like, now today we speak about corporate social responsibility, women discrimination, racial discrimination, but in 1930s we don't know anything, we just know money. So as what we see through the cases, we think that GE would have been proactive, but it thought, okay, fine, let it happen, and let it do in future. But today in GE, there is a separate canal for the wastage to get out through the river itself. There is a canal that has been constructed out of some $1 billion that has been spent in this, and they are excreting out the waste. So it should have been proactive, but now it is proactive, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.